Hi guys, and welcome to Football Fix. My name's Tom. I'm joined by Alex,
Hi.
and today we're going to be discussing Game Week 6, its predictions ahead of obviously the weekend's games. There's some key contests in there, but maybe between City and Tottenham being the standout. But it's going to be good to see how all the Premier League teams fare across this game week.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to them. I think all the teams are really competitive at the moment. There's not many teams that you put right at the bottom of the pile at the moment. So there's a lot of games that I'm sure you'll see with our predictions just now that there'll be a few results that we'll predict and you may not agree with them. So if you don't agree with any of our predictions, make sure to pop them in the comments down below what you would put for those games. And should we get straight into it?
Yeah, obviously, be sure to like and subscribe to the video and the channel.
Right then. So let's
Sorted.
get on into Fulham Chelsea. It's the early kickoff on Saturday at Craven Cottage. Right,
What time's that at?
that's at 12:30 on Saturday. I'll go straight in with my prediction. For this game, I think that it's going to be a 1-1. Chelsea are off form at the moment. They're not playing up to the standard that you'd be hoping for the amount of money they spent for starters. And just Tuchel, we've spoken about it many times. I don't think he's quite the man for the job for them. And Fulham, they've started really well this season. Mitrovic is on fire. And Andres Pereira is linking up really well as a new signing for them. So, yeah, I think they'll get a result at home. Early kickoff, you never know what can happen. So, yeah, I've gone 1-1 for that one.
Yeah, I mean, because it's at Fulham, it's going to be obviously harder for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Naturally, my instant reaction is obviously Chelsea are going to win. But then you have to caveat that with how it's not necessarily the Chelsea of old, is it? They're in a transitional period. They maybe have a goal scorer, depends how Aubameyang starts tonight in the Europa League and Champions League, sorry. And it's going to be an unknown quantity. I'm going to say a Chelsea 2-1 victory without much confidence because if it's the Chelsea literally of the last few games that occur, then they'll lose. But I think because of the additions they made, Zakaria, Aubameyang, etc., integrating into the squad, they should, and I mean should, it's a big ask, be fine.
Yeah, I think it'll be I think it's going to be quite a close game, especially considering Chelsea have been poor defensively recently as well. I think it'll be a close game. Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. Right, going on to the next one then. Obviously, is Bournemouth Brighton, which, if I'm not mistaken, is 3:00. Is it?
Yes, it's one of the 3:00 games this weekend on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously Brighton travel to Bournemouth to take on the Cherries. And what are your thoughts on this game?
I think Bournemouth have really improved since Scott Parker's left because they've got a win late on against Forest and then a draw against Wolves, which, although a draw against Wolves, it's not the most pretty fixture, you could say, but it's still a decent result for a team that were struggling and just lost 9-0. So I do think they can get something from this game, especially when it's at home. But still, in the back of my mind, Brighton coming off a 5-2 win against Leicester and just having a great start to the season. They're in the top 4 at the moment. I think Brighton are going to win this one, to be honest. So I'll go straight in with my prediction. I'm going 3-1 to Brighton at the Vitality Stadium. I think their attacking power has been shown when they've played poor defences, such as Leicester the other week, 5 goals scored. McAllister with some great goals. Pascal Gross, as I mentioned many times as well.
Well, I'm going to go a bit more punchy than that. 4-0 to Brighton. And the reason I think this is they're just such a well-oiled unit.
They are.
Graham Potter has them playing some scintillating stuff at times. Pascal Gross, as you mentioned previously, literally one of the best midfielders in the league this season. I think Graham Potter is top 5 managers in the league. 5th maybe, could even be 4th. And yeah, I just think they're going to have too much for Bournemouth, who obviously are going to look to probably lose most games this season, on predictions at least.
Yeah.
So for me, I think Brighton in such good form will just have too much for this Bournemouth side, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, they're looking a really good side this year, Brighton. I think it could be one of their best finishes of the past few seasons. I'm interested to see. A game I'm really interested to see. Oh no, it's already happened. I was just thinking, Brighton Newcastle. That'll be a brilliant game because I think both those sides are looking have improved a lot. But it was 0-0.
Yeah, well, it says it all about football, that doesn't it? That result. Yeah. But what I will say is that Brighton are gonna, in my opinion, the next 2 years do what West Ham and Leicester have done previously, be that surprise package that ends up in the top 8. Obviously, Leicester secured European football back-to-back, and then West Ham got it last year. I think that Brighton will be in amongst it, even if they get 8th. They will overachieve from what you'd expect of them, but Graham Potter is that good that I think the next big job that comes up, even if it's England, he's probably going to be favourite for it.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's been a great manager for them over the past few seasons, and now he's fully getting the recognition he deserves, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one is El Sakiko, or whatever you call it. I've seen the meme going around on Twitter, which is Leicester versus Villa. Brendan Rodgers and Steven Gerrard. Who is the manager who's going to be sacked first out of those two, in your opinion?
For me, I think it's going to be Brendan Rodgers. I generally think it'll be Brendan Rodgers first, just because, for starters, Gerrard got a draw against City last week. I think that keeps him in the job for maybe a week, maybe 2 if you're pushing it longer than Rodgers. And I think Rodgers has got, in terms of the top players he's got at the club, they're actually better than the Villa players. So I'd expect him to do more with what he's got than Gerrard with Villa. So yeah, I think it'll be Gerrard to go first, in my opinion.
Okay, so you think it's Rodgers going first?
Rodgers going first. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that. I think Gerrard's going to go first. I think he's going to be sacked first, purely because I think that Rodgers would leave before he gets sacked. I think he's got that sort of mentality. So if you're asking who's getting sacked first, not necessarily leaving the job first, I think it's more likely to be Gerrard who's the one to get sacked. In terms of the game, then, they're both teams who have had pretty horrendous starts to the season.
Yeah,
Leicester sit bottom, which shows the nonsense last season when after 3 games there was shouts that Leicester had replaced Arsenal in the Big Six and all that rubbish. But yeah, I think that Leicester do have a squad, but it's an aging. So, for example, they've got like Vardy, their linchpin striker, who's now 37.
Yeah,
who just signed up to a new 2-year deal, which is mental.
Yeah.
But I think Leicester's issue isn't necessarily that they've got worse when they've lost Fofana, when they've lost the big losses that they have lost, because Fofana played 20% of the games last year. He's not going to have that big an impact on the team. I think it's just the team maybe have got stale. They got sick of each other. There's not been too many additions, so they haven't sort of increased. They may lack that leadership that Kasper Schmeichel offered, but it won't be that extensive. So I mean, they've just lost. I think the manager's lost the dressing room. Whereas at Villa, I still see a team that's fighting. They're just not very good.
Yeah, no, I do get that. Yeah, you saw that. I saw that definitely against City last weekend. I don't think Leicester would have been able to put in a performance like Villa did. While it wasn't the most attractive style of football they played, it was quite compact and they kept the midfield areas quite closed off. The way they played you saw Bailey's goal, it was a well-worked goal, the way they passed the ball through City's team, like they weren't there really. So I think they have
talent.
Yeah,
they have talent. They should have had probably a second with Coutinho, but on another day they could have won that game. But yeah, I fully agree. I think it's a sack derby though. Whoever loses this probably will leave. Maybe not next week, but definitely within the next few weeks.
Yeah.
However, we move on to a more controversial topic, and that is the slow starters, injury-prone Liverpool.
Hang on, we've not done our scores.
Oh, sugar, yeah. What do you think? Yeah, Leicester Villa.
Right, so let's go on into the score for Leicester Villa. I think that Villa are going to get a result from this, and I think it'll be 2-1 to Villa, just based on what we've just mentioned there. With their still got their attacking power. And while they are poorer defensively, I do think they'll concede because both teams I think will concede at least because both teams' defence not strongest at the moment. But at King Power, I think the Leicester fans will turn quite early if they get an early lead, Villa, which they have done a few times recently.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go with a draw. Slightly boring, but it's gonna be my first draw that I've decided, and I think it's gonna be 1-1.
Yeah. It's gonna be. I don't. It's such a hard one to predict. Put it that way, because both sides are so poor at the moment. It's either a sacking's going to happen or they're going to quickly turn their form. So it's a tough one to predict that one. But yeah, let's move on to the game, shall we?
Yeah, moving on to who I briefly touched on before. Liverpool, who are clearly very injury prone at the moment. They've started slowly by their standards. And to make matters worse, in the last few days, Henderson has now picked up an injury and is out for a substantial period of time. They take on Wolves at Anfield. And despite their injuries, I think they'll come through this and get the result purely because they've got the home fans behind them. They've still got the likes of Salah, Firmino, etc. Thiago's apparently been pictured in training.
He's returned to training, yeah.
So that's a big plus if he gets in. And while players like Milner have been poor and Trent to start the season, they still have enough to beat Wolves. Wolves are a team that don't attack very much. They don't attack very well. And they sit in defensively. Now, traditionally, I'm not saying this season, teams that sit in have been Liverpool's bread and butter, just to get Trent and Robertson absolutely hammering in the crosses. Will they play the full 90? That remains to be seen, but I do believe Liverpool will get the result. And I can imagine it be quite convincing. I'm going to say 3-1 to Liverpool.
Yeah, I think, Liverpool, I still think they'll win this game. I've gone with a 2-0 to Liverpool, so same difference in the scoreline. I just can't see Wolves scoring at Anfield, to be honest. They're lacking striking power. They've been linked, they're signing Diego Costa as well, which is completely out of the blue. It's one of those transfers where you're just shocked when you see them linked with Diego Costa. He's so old now, 33. But I suppose it was a shame with the Kalajic getting an ACL injury in his first game. So the new signing that they signed from Stuttgart it was. So it is needed, but I don't think they've got enough going forward to get any sort of goal scoring return from this.
Yeah, Costa has failed his medical apparently today. So not medical, sorry, failed the work permit.
Oh, has he?
So it might be on the edge. Obviously, you can reappeal that though, and offer reasons why it's fine. The next one being two teams who have massively not overperformed, but I think exceeded expectations at least this season. In Southampton and Brentford, two managers go head to head, who, in my opinion, are some of the best managers in the league, in Ralph Hasenhüttl and Brentford. And while on the face of it, Brentford are favourites, I do think that Southampton really have surprised a few people this season. They've got assets like Ward-Prowse and Adams up front, who have been going in strong, and they're definitely going to be a tough test for Brentford at least.
Yeah, Brentford. While Southampton are doing quite well and better than you said, and I thought that they do, I had them down to get relegated this season. I still think Brentford will win this one. Off a 5-2 win against Leeds at home, Ivan Toney on fire, hat-trick last game. I think Brentford will win this one. I don't think it'll be too easy for them, but I'm going 2-1 to Brentford for this game at the Southampton Stadium. I think they'll be able to win this one, and Toney definitely be involved in the goals as he usually is.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, and I sort of agree, but then there's that bit that gets back to me, which is the reason that I kept Southampton up in my predictions, that is just Ralph Hasenhüttl. And as much as I like Frank, I think Hasenhüttl does have the edge tactically. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I think that Frank has. I think Frank has better players certainly, and Hasenhüttl was a miracle worker. But I think Brentford probably will just have enough with Ivan Toney, and the like. Obviously, De Silva's played well this season as well, just to name a few. And they will probably come out 2-1 victors in this one. I think Brentford will win 2-1 and take the points back to Brentford.
Right, then I'll introduce our next fixture. The biggest game of the weekend, as we think at least, and I think most people agree with this. As the City fan, we've got City against Tottenham as the afternoon kickoff on Saturday. I can't wait for this fixture. And at the same time, I'm dreading it because it's going to be a tough game for City, and we seem to always do poorly against Tottenham, especially at home. I really don't know what to say for this one. It's going to be, it could go one of two ways. It'll either be City have a really bad off day and Tottenham will dominate us in terms of the counter-attacks like they normally do, or City will be playing the quick passing football. Haaland will be getting in behind Spurs' defence and we'll win it. But what I'm going to go with, I've got to back Man City. I'm going with a 1-0 win to City in this one. Quite simple, but I think I do believe we'll dominate the game and get the 1-0 win from this.
Now, they do say that events in life repeat history. Now, I'm hoping that's not going to be the case, but keeping a clean sheet against Tottenham for you lot is bold. The line you lot play, with the pace they have in behind of Son, and now obviously Richarlison. Now, that's a bold prediction. I do think City will win. I pray that City will win because, as an Arsenal fan, I mean, there's only two results that I want from this game. It's either a draw or a City win. Ideally, a draw if you look at the grand context of the season. But I've sort of accepted that City are going to win the league because we're not in the conversation. So I'd much rather for top four hopes in the long term, City annihilate Spurs, get Spurs morale down, and win the game. That being said, we've got to take bias aside for these predictions. My gut is telling me it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw. And I can't. City are by far a better team, but history suggests that Spurs would win or get a result, especially in recent years. And it is so Conte, innit?
It is.
You can imagine it now. 65, 70% possession to Man City, 30 shots or something like that.
Yeah.
And Spurs get 2 counter-attack goals and win the game. But I'm going to say 2-2 for the purpose of our predictions. The talking point will be Son. It's whether he gets back in form, because him on that high line would be lethal. That being said, he hasn't been on it this season. But we'll wait and see. But I'm going 2-2 for that game.
Right then. So we've gone from my team that I support and we'll move on to the next game, which is Arsenal, your team, versus Everton, as one of the 2 o'clock kickoffs on Sunday. So do you want to introduce this one for us?
Well, I'm actually going to this one. Actually travelling down from obviously Manchester to London to the Emirates. It's going to be a test. Let's put it that way. You look at Arsenal last season, and where they fell short in the hunt for top 4 was when they lost the game, e.g. they got destroyed by Crystal Palace. They went on to lose the 2 or 3 after it, so 3 or 1 after it. They wouldn't bounce back straight away with a win. And that's ultimately what cost them the top 4. Little clumps of poor form around massive clumps of positivity and wins. So therefore, it's going to be a massive test of character. Arsenal signed Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko, proven winners, whether they've played a lot, but they're used to winning. They're used to coming back and getting through negative results. And I don't actually think Arsenal were the worst team against Manchester United last time out. That being said, Everton did just come off a very good performance where they held Liverpool to a 0-0 draw. One of their better performances of the season. And Frank Lampard clearly has his team playing and fighting. Provided Arsenal start well and start out of the blocks, I think it should be a win for them. However, as I stated with history and Tottenham and City, etc., even though they're different teams this season, Arsenal are a different team this season than they are last season. I still have to go back to what we can go off, which is the evidence at play that was last season. And therefore, I believe it's going to be a struggle. and Arsenal will draw 1-1 with Everton in this game week, and it's going to be so sad. I'll be crying.
I've got the same result for them here. I was thinking that Everton will get some from this game, and I hate to say it, but I think it'll be every Arsenal fan's worst nightmare. Neil Maupay who'll get the goal for Everton because the way he was working so hard in that game against Liverpool. He ran the most on the pitch for Everton, and I think he'll get a goal in behind the Arsenal's in behind midfield.
I think there's no doubt Arsenal are a better team, and if they play to their ability, especially what they've done this season, even if they play to the level they played again in the United game, I think they'll walk Everton.
Yeah.
But I don't think the mentality will be there, and that's what's holding me back.
Yeah,
it'll show though, won't it? So it'll show how good a signing that it'll show how good a signing Gabriel Jesus has been, how much impact Zinchenko's had on the dressing room. This is the litmus test. This is to see, have Arsenal improved by bringing in these players who have been there and done it? Because that's what they're there for. That's what we signed them for. We didn't want to get young, raw players like more Sambi Lokongas, Gabby Martinelli's coming into the side. We went and got experience because that is what we lacked at times last season.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Right, let's get on to the next game. We've got West Ham versus Newcastle. It's at the London Stadium. It's the second of the 2 o'clock games on Sunday. What are your thoughts on this game then? Two sides that are, I think they're still 2 quality sides. West Ham haven't started as well as they'd have hoped to, but still 2 quality sides, and I think it'll be a great game.
Yeah, it'll be a fantastic game. I mean, David Moyes' West Ham obviously overachieved last season. They haven't been at it this season as of yet, and I don't think they are really as good as people tip them out to be. They ran off, obviously, form, but then towards the back end of last season, after they started so well, when they had injuries, when they had lack of rotation, they started slacking. That being said, I don't think the players they brought in necessarily are at the ability of the starters. For example, Skamaka right now isn't as good as Antonio. And the drop-off if Rice disappears is still massive. That being said, Newcastle, we have to account them. They have started phenomenally. They've been intelligent with their business. They're bringing in the right mentalities, which I think, for team building wise, says a lot. And while they have had the odd game here and there where they drop points, probably undeservedly, they also did hold City to a 3-3 draw. I think Newcastle probably do have enough, and I think Newcastle will come away 3-1 victors in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think Newcastle will win this game, and I've agreed on the fact that I think West Ham will definitely score at the London Stadium as well. I can't see them not scoring in front of the massive crowd they've got there. I think it'll be 2-1 to Newcastle. Not quite as big a victory, but I think they'll definitely come out victorious in this one.
Lovely, lovely. So the next one is a big one for Manchester United, who have got 4 wins from 4. They travel to Crystal Palace and take the Vieira side on there. What are your thoughts on the game?
This is I think United are going to do, obviously, after 4 wins in a row, it's really looking promising for them. I think this could be a little blip for them, to be honest, because while they've played really well the last 4 games, got 4 wins in a row, I couldn't see them continuing this form ridiculously. I don't think they're going to lose the game, but I do think they'll draw it. As the afternoon kickoff on the Sunday at Selhurst Park, I think they will draw this game. So I've gone with a 2-2 draw, actually, for this one. I think it will be high scoring. Zaha will definitely be involved in the goals against his former club, actually, United. And United, they've got a great attack. I'm just not sure if they'll be able to keep a clean sheet away at Selhurst Park. I still think Zaha will be involved.
Right, so United, whenever I've seen them, even in this 4-game win, whether that be against Southampton, whether that be against us, they've been a transition team. Their attack isn't necessarily great in regards to being able to break down a low block. They didn't play well against Southampton, got the result, sign of a decent team, yes. But Palace, in my opinion, are a more settled team for their system. That being said, I think United will come away with a 2-1 victory in this one, purely because I think that Palace the Palace could come away with something here if they sat deep and tried to get United to break them. Got them on the transition with Zaha, Eze, Elise, etc. The issue is that Palace and Vieira play quite attacking football. That high line's going to get exploited by the likes of Marcus Rashford, who's found form, Anthony and Martial, etc. If Martial's back yet, I don't know, Ericsson, etc. And while United haven't necessarily been fully convincing against Arsenal, Arsenal were the better team, and they weren't convincing in the previous games fully, they still are very good in transitional senses. And if Palace at home push on, try and attack, I think that's where they're going to come unstuck, and United will get the victory in this one.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think United on the break, especially in behind, that's the way that they exploited Arsenal. I think that'll be the way they exploit Crystal Palace as well, because I can't see them dropping deep at home. It's quite a bold thing to do in front of your home crowd. That.
Yeah, there's two teams in the country who necessarily don't do well against low blocks, but are very, very, very elite at the transitional play. And for me, they are Tottenham and Man United.
Yeah.
Both aren't the most creative at building chances. They won't be able to break you down too much if you're a solid defensive unit. You see, like Burnley, for example, got was it a 1-0 victory at Spurs last year?
I think, yeah.
Teams that are solid defensively, they notoriously will struggle against. But then you've got teams that, when they come onto you a bit and the teams allow pressure, they're very good at hitting sharp in the transition, in the dribble. And I think they're the two strengths of United and Spurs, at least.
Yeah, definitely. Right, so we've got the final game, Leeds against Nottingham Forest. It's the evening kickoff on Monday at Ellen Road. I'm just going to get straight in with my prediction for this one. I think Leeds will definitely score a fair few goals in this one at home. Forest are pretty much the worst side in the league defensively. I think that it's going to be 3-1 to Leeds in this one. Forest will probably get a goal. Leeds' defence isn't still strong enough to keep a clean sheet against them with all the attacking players that they've got, especially how many they've got now as well. But at home, Leeds, I think they'll get the result here.
There's something massive to be said about not necessarily Leeds United, but the Ellen Road crowd.
Yeah.
They will bring them to another level. No matter what level the players are at Ellen Road, the crowd will elevate that 20%. The players could be performing at 50%. That extra 20% is a 70% team. Yeah. And in games where you're getting tired, where you're playing Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, or whatever the Premier League schedule is going to be over the course of the season, that 20% is going to be massive for Leeds.
Yeah.
Forest come into it with a much changed squad. The squad hasn't been together for long at all, and therefore relationships haven't formed. While Cooper's a very good manager, Marsh is showing to be just as astute.
Yeah.
And Leeds, in my opinion at least, have a better team.
Yeah.
Not necessarily players individual, but team. So for that reason, I'm going to go 4-0.
4-0. Wow. Yeah,
that's
I think
the second.
A lot.
Is that the second 4-0 of the day that I've said?
That is, yeah. You said that for
Brighton.
Brighton, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4-0. Home victory at Ellen Road for Leeds. The crowd will elevate them. I have no idea who's going to score the 4 goals, but let's be punchy with it. Yeah, 4-0. Forest are going to. I think if I was to change my predictions now, Forest might be bottom of the table.
They could be. They're very poor defensively, aren't they?
As in even worse than Bournemouth in terms of the league prediction. I don't know, but that's a different conversation for another video. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you are new, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.